This is breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
Put them in there, and they played more young players than any team in the league this year, and they're all making an impact. You know, the tackles, the back, the corners, and the secondary. So, some new faces for us. We don't know this team very well, so our team is hard at work in terms of learning the personnel, the scheme, the challenges that they present in all three phases. And then obviously, going up there and playing in Seattle is it's always a different atmosphere, very challenging place to play. So a lot of hard work ahead of us here.
Are you? I think there was an assumption that Seattle's in a rebuild mode, and they're playing for down the road. But obviously, Pete's got them playing pretty well. Are you surprised at all about where they are right now?
Not really. Every time I've had a chance to compete against Coach Carroll's teams, they always, number one, they play really hard. Number two, they always have personnel that fits their system and their scheme almost perfectly. Going back years. I've competed against them a number of times. So they do a great job of putting players on the team that fit what they want to do. And so when they change from people that, everybody knows to somebody else that maybe isn't as well known, I don't think they look at it like, oh man, we're going to take two steps back. I think they've done a good job of evaluating the players they're putting on the roster, and those players are ready to take over when it's their time. And so I see that again. And can't say enough about what Gino has been able to do. I've competed against him a number of times too, and I think he's having a fantastic year. Great decisions, accurate with the ball, completed higher percentage than anybody in the league. And he's got good players to distribute it to, and just looks in such comfort, knows where he's going with the football all the time, running their offense very well. And their defense, is typical Pete's defense, and after the ball on every play, do a great job of trying to get it off you. Ball security is going to be paramount again this week. But their style, the way they play, how aggressive they are, it's really, honestly, it's been the same, every time I've watched them and gotten ready to compete against them, it looks like the same thing.
Is there a decision on Nate Hobbs to designate him?
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back working today, and then we obviously would have to make the decision to pull him up at the end.
Josh, can a win slow things down a little bit when you're losing? Guys are trying, but that can almost accelerate. But can it let your head get up, get a breath, and maybe slow down not change the process, but slow down people to be able to continue to grow?
I don't know if I'd use that phrasing. I would just say, it reiterates that when we do things the right way, we have enough to have success, and so. Still haven't played a perfect game, still haven't coached a perfect game, and there's a lot of things we can do better. But I think it's a great opportunity also to learn when you win, and be critical of the things maybe you could have done better. And I think our team is really starting to respond to that. It tastes a little better when you win, than after you lose a game. So I think our attitude and approach has been great, honestly, regardless of the outcome of the prior game. And I look forward to seeing how our team responds this week.
Josh, another injury question for Colton Miller. What do you have to see for him to be able to get back out there? And then kind of second part of that, Thayer Muffin, I'm pretty sure it was the first time he played a full game from start to finish. What do you think about his performance?
Colton, it's just basically when he's able to roll. You know what I mean? Whenever he's able to do it and not set himself back, then I think he'll be able to be back out there. And again, we'll see how this week goes. It'll be interesting to see how the next few days go for him. I know he's working really hard to get back out there as soon as he can. They're, manned the right side, the whole game. And again, like all young players do, there's a lot of good plays, and then there's some plays to learn from. So I thought he acquitted himself well. I thought he also, there's this chunk of plays where, okay, that's how you're going to get better. You see the result of them. You see what you could have done better from a technique perspective. And then work like hell to get it right this week in practice and improve as the season goes. But those reps are huge, to play on the road in a division game against a good team with a good pass rush, physical front, to go out there and do that and, and realize like, okay, I belong here and now I have an opportunity to improve myself from that performance. I think there can take a lot from it.
What have you seen from Jakob this year? And I know it's part of your scheme, but what about the fullback entices you to have one and to make it part of what you do?
Yeah, Yak's an unselfish guy. He's a great teammate. He's physical, tough. We talk about being a tough team, and Yak adds that element to of physicality to our offense, to our special teams. He's a tireless worker. He'll do anything the team needs. Nobody ever talks about the fullback a whole lot, so he doesn't get a lot of glory. But JJ would talk about him a lot, and I think the offensive line would talk about him a lot because of the things that he does. He's kind of an unsung hero in terms of providing opportunities for the backs to run, helping in protection, just doing a lot of the dirty work that fullbacks do, quite honestly, and so I think he just, teams don't really use a fullback much anymore. There's very few teams in the league that we see now that do that employ one. So it's kind of like having a different style for the opponent to have to get ready for, in a quick week, and have to learn how to fit two-back runs and deal with those kind of things that I would say generally are becoming kind of outdated in the league. But if you have a good one, and we can be productive in that personnel grouping, I've always been a believer in it, and that's why Yak's here.
Josh, you talked about dripping water on that special teams rock, getting better as the years gone on. It looks like it's gotten better coverage-wise, return-wise. What's the challenges of that from a year-to-year basis when rosters turn over, especially on that part of it? Is it more concepts or personnel? Just improving as years?
I would say it's the commitment to those players are just as valuable as the players on either side of the ball, offensively or defensively. And so when you make selections in the draft or you sign people in free agency, few of the first guys we were able to sign in free agency were Mac Hollins and Brandon Bolden, and immediately you feel like, okay, we're making some progress in the kicking game. And I would say the same thing about, a handful of the guys that we got after the draft, in college free agency is, look, if you put enough effort into it and you put enough commitment, that it's just one of the three. It's not the third, and so, I don't know how everybody else does it. I just know how we're going to try to do it. And we're going to treat it like it's just as important as anything else, offensively or defensively. And so I hope there's not a big changeover next year. A lot of the guys that are, I would say helping us improve in the kicking game, Bolton, Luke Masterson, Darian Butler, Amir Abdullah, Brandon Bolden. There's a number of guys that are helping us in that phase. The kickers, the snapper. You have to make a commitment to that phase of the game being very important, which it is. And so I think the core group of guys, what's interesting and fun for us to see is there's a core group of guys that are starting to, create an identity for themselves. And they have this attitude each week, like, they're excited for the challenge, which is going to be a huge one this week in Seattle. It's a very good, unit there, and they do a great job of coaching it, and they got good specialists and good returners. So I just think that the entire approach towards special teams is got to be you got to be consistent with it, and that's what we're going to do.
Josh, on Sunday, Foster and Keelan and Tyler obviously had key plays that helped that win. What's the key, I think, to getting production out of the role players in specific spots moving forward?
Yeah, I think you give them opportunities, and I think you keep doing things in practice that allow them to get more comfortable. When their number's called during the course of a game. We work with all our players every week. It's not just these are the guys that are playing and these are the guys that are on the scout team. The scout team guys get coached just as much as the other guys do. And so the point of that is that this is such a league of attrition that eventually those guys are going to end up playing anyway. That's why they're here. We don't have anybody here that we don't like and don't feel like we could have an opportunity to win with. And so Tyler's worked really hard in practice. He's given us fits on offense, and so he's earned his opportunity to go in there and compete and play. And the role guys, whether it's Keelan or Foster or Amir, I mean, they all show up and do things, during the course of the game that help us win, and so, just continue to coach the entire roster, practice squad, guys that happen to be inactive at one point or other. We feel like at some point they're going to be active and we're going to need them. So we put as much time and energy into the 69th player as we do the number 1 player. And I think those guys were all ready when their number was called on Sunday.
We all know about the sacks you guys had on Sunday and the day Max had, but it seemed like you were getting kind of pressure more consistently on a down-to-down basis. Did you see that, and how do you build on that progress?
Yeah, I thought we did. We executed a few things better in the pass rush. I'd say particularly on third down, that allowed us to create a little bit of pressure there and either force them out of the pocket or in a few cases we got to them. And that's time on task. That's comfort level with one another. We talked about Jerry last week, and, I hope that's going to get more comfortable this week and then going forward as well. So, just guys being able to go in there and help somebody else get to the middle of the pocket and get to the passer. It's not all just 4 guys, working on their own, and so there's a lot of detail, a lot of time and effort put into it. And somebody's got to go take one for the team sometimes so somebody else can come free. That's just the nature of pass rush. And, so I thought our guys made some strides there last week.
What, if anything, are you going to do this week in preparation for the conditions, both the noise level but also the anticipated wet weather?
Yeah, the noise will be the same as we've done, I'd say, with Kansas City and a handful of other places, Denver, where we've had certainly loud music or the airplane runway, where you can't hear anything out there, when we're on offense or in the kicking units. So we'll simulate that same thing. And when you're going from a climate like this is my first time doing this, so this is a unique experience where we really haven't had, any wet weather days, and so you're going to potentially play in it. So we'll simulate that as well, whether that's, ball handling, quarterback center exchanges, the snapping to the specialists, those kind of things, throwing and catching the ball, with a little moisture on it, wet ball, whatever it is, the best we can. We're not going to have the sprinkler system on when we're practicing, but, we'll do as much as we can to try to simulate some of the things that I think our guys don't have as much repetition at. Look, that's the best we can do right now, unless we go try to find a rainy place and go spend the week there. So, we're going to do everything we can do to prepare for that.
What is it in general that makes it so difficult to play in Seattle, besides like the noise and sometimes weather conditions?
The noise and the weather. Well, and I would say this: the team. That's people say, why was it hard to play against some of the great teams in the 70s, 80s? Because they're pretty good, And I think every time that I've been there, with Pete and even before then, there's just been so well coached, really good players. Combine that with the atmosphere that you're going to play in, which is as noisy as any state. I'd say that in Kansas City, probably as noisy as you get. And then, whatever the weather is, we can't control that. But I think the team, the way they're coached, how well they're coached, how well they perform and do their jobs, then combine that with the noise level that makes, communication tougher, So that's really what I attribute it to.
You're a guy of process, staying on this game schedule, but when you have a holiday in the middle of your week, and these guys do have families, and you're going to give them some family time.
Yep.
How do you handle that? How do you work that?
Yeah, we, you can always, I think, adjust it a little bit. So the staff did a good job. Fortunately, we won, so we were able to do a victory Monday. So the staff got a little further ahead on Monday and Tuesday. And so we'll spend a little bit more time today after we're done with our practice today of actually going ahead and getting ahead for tomorrow, as opposed to what we would normally do, which is just watch the film and then the players could go and then we would come in and restart our day tomorrow. We're going to get a good chunk of that done today. And so they'll come in early tomorrow. We'll meet quickly. I think the atmosphere on Thanksgiving Day has always been great, when you're coaching and playing football. It's such a national pastime, really, to watch football on this day. But when you actually get to coach it or play it, even if it's just the practice part of it. It just is a great feeling, a lot of energy. So we'll be ahead tomorrow. We'll get him in quick. We'll get out on the practice field much earlier than normal, and then we'll get him out of here and let them spend the day with their families.
There's no question that Josh Jacobs has earned the carries that you've given him. You talked the other day about he doesn't want to come out and he just keeps grinding away. But you've got a couple of running backs that you drafted, some younger guys. Do they need game action to develop to where you guys want them to be?
There certainly obviously could benefit from action in the games. It's just that, I'm picking my poison, you know what I mean? And I'm having a hard time going away from the guy with the hot hand. So, it is what it is. I'm very happy with the guys behind, they're working really hard. And they again, that's kind of the nature of the position, honestly. And, Seattle's really much the same. With Kenneth, he's getting the lion's share of the carry now that Penny's out, and it is what it is. Running backs kind of, if you got a guy that's pretty special, you let him play and let him do his thing, and when he needs a break, he takes a break. And again, the JJ wasn't in there the whole time. You know what I mean? Amir's in there plenty, and it's like I said, there's some of that too. But I just, I'm a little bit. Like I said, not hesitant, but I'm just, I'm so happy with what he's doing. And I think he's in such a good rhythm right now that just, let's ride it. And we'll see when he needs a break, he'll let us know.
From that, just Zamir White, this was the first game he was inactive, so just purely football there.
Yeah, he and Britton have been working really hard. And again, it kind of goes to the question about, hadn't really got a ton of carries yet, so we gave Britton an opportunity in the kicking game too. He and Zamir have both been competing in basically very similar roles. That was basically what it was, and we've stressed that same thing the entire season. So we're going to continue to let them do that. I think it's healthy for both of them.
So this holiday being ingrained with football, of course, do you have any favorite football memories from Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I've had a chance to play a couple times on Thanksgiving. Fortunately we won, I think, all of them. So it was, that has always been something that I think, until you do it, until you have a home game on Thanksgiving, you don't really know kind of what it's like. But I've always felt like the stadium, on a Thanksgiving day, there's a lot of people that are really happy to be there and thankful that they have an opportunity to do that. And I just, being able to coach and play football on Thanksgiving, whether it's practices or games, I think it's just a blessing because we're so lucky we get to do this for a living, and our whole country tunes in and wants to watch the games that are on Thanksgiving Day. And, how lucky are we that we get to come here and do this before we actually go get to celebrate the rest of the day with our families.
All set?
Good to go? Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
You've been watching Breaking News from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.